Stream crash. I have no idea what just happened, but hopefully everything is back. Twitch is completely down? Like down? Like the whole thing is down? Okay. Yeah, no, it should be. Yeah, Twitch is back up. Cool, 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 cool. That was weird. Why did it happen on both Twitch? I didn't even have desktop audio on, so it couldn't have been the Cowboy Bebop thing. That is bizarre. Still not up for you. I'm gonna go put on a sweater real quick because it's getting cold in here. Okay. How is everybody doing? Are we back? Are we back, chat? Have we never been more back? Or is it so Jover? I had to get a new lighter for a live action segment I filmed for the Satanic Temple video. And this thing is like maybe one of the most violent lighters I've ever had. Like every time I turn it on, it goes. There we go. We are so back. Purist, my whole goddamn body is aching from sleeping normally for the third time this week. Are you working out? Have you been stretching? Endless Grapes, thank you for following. 10 Nathan XIX, thank you for following. Can I show what on stream? No, yeah, we're just not going to watch the immolation. Last time I watched one was very depressing. We have this picture here. I feel like that's enough of an idea to kind of get what we're talking about. All right, I'm going to take this away from my dog because it's being very annoying. Might be good. Leave me alone. Oh, no, I don't think a lighter can be against TOS. Whoa. That weird lady. Damn, I've never been this early before. So we have been, that weird lady, we've been going for about an hour and a half or so, and I had to reset the stream. All right, so if you'll remember, a couple of months ago, Aaron Bushnell self-immolated as an act of protest outside of an embassy in America. He was an active service member and did it to bring attention to America's funding and aiding Israel in the current genocide they're perpetuating against Palestine. Now, that is a very different case than what happened today. And I'll talk about why as we go through this story, because I think a lot of people, especially on the right, are trying to tie this person who today self-immolated outside of Trump's trial in New York to Aaron. Not in terms of like they knew each other or anything, but saying, oh my gosh, look, it's an epidemic of violence on the left or something, which is very different because as we'll see, and as we've seen from everything that came out about Aaron, the major difference here is that while Aaron was of sound mind, this person, Max Azarello, I believe his name was not, and I'm not going to be pejorative about him, but it was very clear reading through what's come out about him and his manifesto that he is someone who fell down a deep, deep rabbit hole of conspiracy and found himself politically homeless, I guess you could say. Now, people like Libs of TikTok have already tried... let me turn the music off. People like Libs of TikTok have already tried tying this to his former status as a Democrat. He was a Bernie bro. And that's fascinating for several reasons. One, because, man, Libs of TikTok sure doesn't seem to care when, like, you know, any fascist will do a shooting. But aside from that, as we'll see, the things that he espouses on his Substack, which I have a link to and we'll go over, aren't really in line with modern leftism. And in fact, he's incredibly critical of not just liberals, but leftists as a whole, and conservatives, which has left him in this bizarre political void that we'll talk about in a minute. But let's... Yenzo in the chat, why did a person light themselves on fire? Is this about the U.S. vet that set himself on fire? No. And it wasn't a vet. He was an active service member. But no, this has nothing to do with that. Prompt Gnostic, I think I think anything with fascism is bad. Dominic Maslik, I don't know. We were having everything... like in chat just stopped working both on Twitter and YouTube, so I just restarted it. Yeah, Foxbat, the part where he says all my friends and family turned on me is heart-wrenching because you absolutely know that was him falling down an utterly insane rabbit hole of conspiracy and having a mental breakdown and probably not being able to stop talking to them about it. Yeah, so the thing about this that I immediately recognized is that Max Azarello, despite the fact that both he and Aaron Bushnell self-immolated, that's really where the similarities of their political action end. And in fact, he is a lot closer to Justin Moon, who we covered several months ago, and you may remember, was a conspiracy theorist who killed his own dad for believing that his dad was in league with Biden and the deep state. And we'll talk more about that as it continues on. So this from Politico, a person lit themselves on fire outside the courthouse. Police responded to the scene. This is just a very basic overview. The park, which wasn't crowded at the time, cleared quickly. Police responded to the scene and have roped off the park. There were barricades already set up. The man appeared responsive but badly burned when he was removed from the park. This is, from Politico, this is under the People v. Trump tab. So this is, for a good while, basically all we knew about it. Oh, sorry, I just have to almost sneeze for a second. Ugh. And of course, more quickly came to light about him because not only did he light himself on fire, he spread pamphlets right before. The man who doused himself with accelerant and set himself ablaze outside Donald Trump's Manhattan trial on Friday published an online manifesto declaring that he self-immolated to warn the world about a, quote, apocalyptic fascist world coup. The self-immolating conspiracy theorist was identified by cops as Max Azarello, a 37-year-old from St. Augustine, Florida, who was in critical condition on Friday afternoon. He declared online that his act was a, quote, extreme act of protest to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. His Substack manifesto is a dizzying document that rails against cryptocurrency, New York University, the Clintons, and the world governments, warning readers that they are, quote, victims of a totalitarian con akin to a massive Ponzi scheme. During a Friday afternoon press conference, the NYPD said that around 1:35, Azarello removed multiple pamphlets and an alcohol-based accelerant from his book bag. He then doused himself in the accelerant and set himself ablaze, falling onto a police barrier and collapsing to the ground engulfed in flames. Quote, The True History of the World, Haunted Carnival Edition, one of the pamphlets he possessed read, quote, Our only goal is to replace our criminal government and replace it with one that serves all. NYU is a mob front, another pamphlet claimed. So when I talk about the similarities between him and Justin Moan, the thing that I see most in common is weird personal fixations that come out in their conspiracies, which you saw a lot with Justin. He had a lot of things that had either obviously happened to him or he perceived as happening to him that manifested themselves in his writings, in his stories, that became themes. And I think NYU is one of those for Max. Associates of Azarello told Daily Beast that he'd gone, quote, a little haywire in recent years, with his posts to Facebook growing more and more unhinged. He is a very personable guy, not an idiot when you're sitting around talking with him, but over the course of the last few years, he's become more and more involved with a thought process that everything is a conspiracy against the common person, his former landlord, Larry Altman, told the Daily Beast. Authority is not doing anything to help you. Despite him showing signs of going off the rails, Altman added that Azarello gave no indication he might do something as radical as setting himself ablaze. Quote, I would find it difficult to believe he was burning himself because he didn't like Trump. He might be burning himself because he doesn't like authority in general, and maybe he was feeling the trial was a show trial. I don't know. I can't even imagine him going that far. He's been unwell, said one family friend, who asked not to be named because of the sensitivity of the situation. They said Azarello, who is living in St. Augustine and working as a consultant, but previously lived in New York, where NYU is, he was very intelligent and a strong-willed person who was extremely kind. He was a kind guy. He had a big heart. He just battled with some mental illness. And this is the other correlation I find, because again, so many people, because they're two cases of politically motivated self-immolation, they're obviously going to draw parallels between this one and Aaron Bushnell. The other big problem with that is that Aaron Bushnell, again, appeared to be of sound mind. And everything I've seen that has come out about him since only continues to really verify that for me personally. But both Justin Moan and Azarello, not only did they fall down these conspiracy rabbit holes, which we have talked about so much on here, which have just proliferated and continue to fester on the internet, but they dealt with previous mental illness beforehand. Mental illnesses that either went untreated, undiagnosed, and because of that, only continued to fester and proliferate in these conspiracy theories. Strategy Force, $10 from Strategy Force. Hippo character spins around in his chair, arms slung up in the air. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Yeah, and Terra Nova in Twitter saying, Terra Nova on Twitch saying, some of the stuff in this guy's pamphlets and manifestos are definitely unhinged. I just wish he got the help he needed. My heart breaks for this guy. And so one of the big problems with his manifesto is that he actually brings up a lot of good points, which is what a conspiracy theory hinges on. It hinges on, and it doesn't matter if it's anti-Semitism, it doesn't matter if it's, Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing. Like, it doesn't matter any of that. There always needs to be something that you point out to somebody and it gets them thinking to go, oh yeah, that does make sense. And of course, like with any other conspiracy theory, you scratch it and it's either based somewhat in fact or it's a cover for something else entirely, like anti-Semitism. The thing that he gets at, and he's big on talking about tech oligarchs, and we'll talk about all this in the actual manifesto. But the thing that really, I think, more than anything drove him to this is the state of capitalism in America right now. And I'm not saying this is like a rah-rah socialist, communist, whatever. I'm just saying the things that he complains about, the things that he calls out as being oppressive to the average person, as pushing everybody down, as these oligarchs ruling over us. He has a lot of good points. He takes it to abnormal and weird and extreme places that are very wrong, obviously. But he brings up a lot of good points. Well, we'll talk about that more in a second. John Martin McGee, who grew up with Azarello, told the Daily Beast that he'd most recently seen Azarello 2 months prior. He said his look was, quote, hobo chic, but that he acted like his normal self. A LinkedIn for Azarello show he worked on the campaign of Representative Amy Burra, Democrat, California, in 2013. Burra emailed a statement to the Daily Beast saying, quote, I recall that Max worked on one of my early campaigns. This is tragic news and my thoughts and prayers are with his family at this time. The page also showed he had stints at Open Tent, EigenX, Goliath Technologies LP, and Strong Towns, though his employment there could not be immediately confirmed. And here's a picture of him with Newt Gingrich at Politicon. Social media for Azarello was filled with talk of conspiracy, including on his Instagram page, where he posted a story that merely said, I love you a dozen times on Friday. Also on that page was a photo of him and Newt Gingrich from 2015, in which he was wearing a Bernie Sanders Eat the Rich shirt. Other posts appeared more normal, including him showing off different trips to Oakland and California. Azarello's Facebook listed his job as being an independent researcher who works at the Ponzi Papers, which is the name of his Substack account. His last post to Facebook was on March 20th, where he shared photos of conspiracy pamphlets with the caption, quote, if you're wondering what the future's history books will say, it's this. What a time to be alive. And here is where it really starts to go down a little bit darker road. Raven, thank you very much. My partner did my hair for me, and I'm very happy with it. YouTube, Biscuit, that is on Twitch. The chat people on screen is Twitch. Do we have trolls in chat? Hi, YouTube. Okay. Azarello was arrested in St. Augustine 3 times between October 19th and August 19th and 24th, 2023. I'm sorry, everybody. One of those arrests was for allegedly throwing a glass of wine at the wall where an autograph from Bill Clinton was in the lobby of the Casa Monica Resort and Spa. The hotel established that caused between $400 and $500 worth of damage. His second arrest came at the hotel where Azarello was cursing loudly and removing his clothes, police alleged. His third arrest was for allegedly defacing, very different signs in St. Augustine, including one for a construction site and a Little Free Library. In a mugshot taken by Florida cops, Azarello is seen sticking his tongue out and closing his left eye. Records show Azarello filed a federal lawsuit against the Clinton Foundation last April that included Mark Cuban, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, Sam Bankman-Fried, and over a dozen others as co-defendants. He alleged they'd each participated and benefited financially from a decades-long fraudulent scheme. The lawsuit fizzled out after Azarello failed to show cause for why a court should take up the suit, which was officially dismissed in October. His Substack Manifesto frequently mentioned the Clintons and the Clinton Global Initiative, linking them to Jeffrey Epstein and sex trafficking. He also parroted the popular QAnon conspiracy that all politicians on both sides of the aisle work together to maintain a world order that keeps them in power. And this is where it starts to lose me a little bit. Well, I'll let Daily Beast say this, and then we'll jump into the actual manifesto. What does this revelation tell us? That our government is conning us completely, he wrote. That Bill Clinton was secretly... Yeah, this is all stuff that is in the manifesto. Trump has posted multiple times since the incident on Truth Social, but has yet to address Azarello. I want to see if he actually addresses this. Nothing yet. All right. So, with that out of the way, this is the most recent post on his Substack. Yeah, Miranono, he's like an average swing voter, but with a mental health crisis. I agree with that. And I want to say, this is part of what happens when we don't have proper mental health care in the country, when we don't have ease of access for that mental health care. On one hand, and then on the other hand, we have these growing structures of social media that are encompassing our entire lives, which is exactly what people like Elon Musk want to happen. They want these places to be like when Elon Musk talks about X being the everything app, I think he sees it as some kind of like Star Trek-y future, like you can all link and pay and do all these things for one app, because he's naive and stupid. The reality is that it's just making social media more encompassing to our lives, which is something that already happens. Everybody has their own little sects and groups and they're the program of their choice, whether it's TikTok or Insta or Facebook or whatever. But social media has driven its claws so far into our lives, and that has made political discourse a million times worse, especially when you continue to have conspiracy theories just proliferate unabated on every platform. And it's gotten so much worse with Twitter. And I feel like, unfortunately, the end result, like this is the logical end result of a cultural climate where people's needs, basic needs, are not being addressed. Things like needing more rent, needing lower rent, and getting paid more money. Things like mental health care. Things like being afraid for personal safety. Not knowing where your next meal might come from. Meanwhile, we all acknowledge that there is an entirely different class of people in America that are not held to these same standards, that don't have to worry about anything, that at the end of the day, they don't pay the same taxes as everybody else. They don't tangibly live in the same world that we do. And I feel like, unfortunately, this is what happened. This is one eventuality of a mental health care crisis, a living crisis, and a conspiracy crisis, all colliding with each other. And in many ways, I think, even though he only took action against himself, this really isn't that different from any given 4chan mass shooter, any person who has left behind a manifesto that is citing, far-right activism, because even though he's not citing that, it is driven by the same kind of paranoia, the same kind of detachment from reality that has been festering on the internet, that was allowed to grow to a point where he trapped himself in this mental prison, and the only way he saw out was to take this action, this thing that he thought was unavoidable, even though it was completely avoidable. So, from the Ponzi papers, I have set myself on fire outside the Trump trial. My name is Max Azarello, and I am an investigative researcher who has set himself on fire outside the Trump trial in Manhattan. This extreme act of protest is to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. We are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. Now, at first, you might be by using fascist, you might be tempted to think, okay, well, he's on the left. He's not, as we'll see. He sees, from his reading, he sees all of politics as a kind of game being played by what Alex Jones would call globalists. These great manipulators and puppeteers behind the scenes. And again, remember when I talked about in conspiracies, so many conspiracies are based on things that you hear about or you think about for a second. You're like, yeah, no, that does make sense. Which is the kind of thing that does make sense when you think about the rich people who don't seem to have to pay for crimes like everybody else, who don't seem to have to pay their taxes like everybody else. It makes more sense that there's a global con going, and especially with some of the evidence he lays out, you begin to read it and you're like, yeah, no, like some of this stuff, I'm not going to lie, he's kind of cooking. Like he's kind of cooking a little bit. But then he takes it down these bizarre tangents. Somebody already mentioned in chat the Simpsons tangent. Yeah, we'll see the Simpsons tangent in a second. These claims sound like fantastical conspiracy theory, but they are not. They are proof of conspiracy. And if you investigate this mountain of research, you will prove them too. If you learn a great deal about Ponzi schemes, you will discover that our life is a lie. If you follow this story in the links below, you will discover the rotten truth of post-truth America. You will learn the scariest and stupidest story in world history, and you will realize that we are all in a desperate state of emergency that requires your action. To my friends and family, witnesses, and first responders, I deeply apologize for inflicting this pain upon you, but I assure you it is a drop in the bucket compared to what our government intends to inflict. Because these words are true, this is an act of revolution. Yeah, no, Dermot Fenster, like already, this is so incredible. Like this is not even in the same league as Aaron Bushnell. Now, I want to say, investigating for yourself is a very common thing in modern conspiracy circles. It's where we got things like the Wayfair conspiracy, where people thought that cabinets were being sold with children inside them. Of course, had they done actual research, they would know that those are usually based on profiling systems, and that's a whole thing. I talk about it in the Sound of Freedom video. But as somebody who has done videos and done documentaries and done investigative pieces and put a lot of fucking research into it, somebody who actually took journalism classes, you have to cite your sources, which is something he doesn't really do here. Which leads me to believe that some of the research, I can't tell what research he was doing, and leads me to compare him to the same kind of people who say, oh, do your own research, when they're talking about things like anti-vax conspiracies. Bill Gates wants to put a microchip in you with the COVID vaccine. Crystals are real science. Like just the innumerable shit that people will say, oh, do your own research. And then the research turns out to be bullshit or stuff that they'll point you towards. This seems to align with that kind of philosophy of research and journalism, which is not really research or journalism. And I want to say that up front going in. That is not to say, however, that some of these things are not self-evident or might be based in any kind of reality. He just doesn't really cite many sources, so I can't really verify it. Last March, a billionaire named Peter Thiel started a bank run on Silicon Valley. I knew enough about Thiel that I found this incredibly suspicious. Peter Thiel, legitimate ghoul, just terrible person. My hunch was that it was intentional, though I couldn't fathom why. I began investigating online and quickly found cryptocurrency's fingers all over it. The bank run occurred just 7 days after Silvergate Bank, which catered almost exclusively to crypto companies, collapsed. Meanwhile, several crypto cheerleaders were all over financing media warning of a regional banking crisis, and nobody in media was addressing the clear crypto connections. I dug deep into financials of Thiel's venture capital firm, Founders Fund, and eventually uncovered the following, all proven many times over. Again, I need the actual proof. I need the links. Here. Cryptocurrency is our first planetary multi-trillion-dollar Ponzi scheme. And this is where he's kind of like, again, from somebody on the outside, you hear that. Somebody who's a leftist, I hear that and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. It was expressly created for this purpose by a laundry list of rich and powerful people. The March 2023 bank failures were all intentional. They're no longer dumping cash to keep the cryptocurrency Ponzi afloat, and it will also go insolvent, as all Ponzis must. When the Ponzi scheme goes insolvent, it would take down half the stock market with it. Here's where it gets a little too conspiratorial, because this is the stuff that he apparently alleged in his lawsuit against a lot of these people that he was unable to provide standing for, which means he couldn't actually prove that it was happening. It was too speculative. The perpetrators used their major companies to pipe into the blockchain so they could funnel money out from crypto exchanges. This includes Google, Tesla, Apple, PayPal, Facebook, Disney, Walmart, Target, InBev, Zoom, and countless others. It is a Ponzi scheme so large it created global inflation. As it turns out, our elites are awash in Ponzi schemes. This, again, might have more truth in it than conspiracy. Like, the amount of wealth that people like Elon Musk have amassed through contracts, through unfulfilled shit, is bonkers. Stanford StartX.com investment fund and Jeffrey Epstein's program for evolutionary dynamics he ran at Harvard are both fake science Ponzi factories that these schools have invested billions in. They are filled with fraudulent companies that use smoke and mirrors to promise miraculous new technology, but almost always collapse when the perpetrators only get richer. Something that does actually happen. Something that Peter Thiel in the past has been fucking involved in. Funneling trillions of dollars in stolen cash through the stock market created the largest stock market anomaly in history. Thank you, dog. The stock chart signature of a Ponzi scheme is a massive increase. This chart shape appeared in all companies listed above. In order to explain the massive anomaly, our criminal government unleashed COVID on the world and told us these were stay-at-home stocks. So, already here, you can see the split in his ideology. You can see him promoting COVID conspiracy, which is patently something from the right wing, while also talking against big corporations, Peter Thiel, who is a well-known conservative donor, making some people think he might be more of the left wing. Talks a bit more about Ponzi schemes. One of the most astonishing pieces of standalone evidence I found, Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, 1998 DNC speech where he nominated Mike Dukakis for president against George H.W. Bush. The speech is a vile, mean-spirited roast of Dukakis that made no sense whatsoever. For Clinton to ruthlessly attack a member of his own party should have been political suicide, and he repeatedly mocks Dukakis' noble and earnest qualities. That is not... Notably, actor Rob Lowe, who was supporting Dukakis, was the victim of teen sex blackmail operation at the DNC that year. Since we know Clinton is a closet associate with teen sex blackmail artist Jeffrey Epstein, we can suddenly make perfect sense of this nonsensical speech by applying this lens. And again, here we go. This is pure speculation. Like, this is taking two things that maybe might in some way be related and saying, no, these are definitely related, and because of that, this proves this other thing that I'm going to say. Which is how conspiracies work. It is all about think about it without the actual proof of what's actually happening. Bill Clinton is a cocky mob boss who blackmailed Dukakis because he thought his job was to help the public. He teases out the future public revelation that Kitty Dukakis drank rubbing alcohol and offers a strange anecdote about the crack epidemic that reveals he is an exceedingly proud drug runner. I can't. And here is the part where it really falls apart for me. I mean, before all of this. Our government is conning us completely that Clinton was secretly on former CIA Director George H.W. Bush's side. Honestly, I could believe that. And that the Democrat v. Republican division has been entirely manufactured ever since. Clinton is with Bush. Gore is with Bush. Trump is with Hillary. That's where you lost me, champ. Strategy Force, thank you for super chatting $10. Stretch Jumbo, thank you for following. A Bovine, thank you for following. Yeah, I'll be right back again. So, like, the idea of Trump and Hillary Clinton working together is, well, it's something that could only work in a conspiracy. Like, nobody would subject themselves to the constant calls for death threats, to the just the unmitigated harassment Hillary Clinton has been under. Nobody would go through all of the legal shit that Trump has been under, all for it. Like, it doesn't make sense. They haven't had a friendly rivalry. Like, Trump's associates and his followers have called for her death. Like, it is not, like, this does not track. This does not chart. Like, the idea of, again, this is conspiracies are a way of making sense of things that don't make sense to us. Right? So if you present the idea that why aren't our politicians doing more to help us? The Democrats I voted for aren't doing anything to help me. Okay, well, the Republicans I voted for aren't doing anything to help me. Then the conspiracy becomes clear that they are working together. Working together for what? Now, in reality, it is probably more likely that they are working together to consolidate interests, or that they don't help the little people as much because when it comes to shit like aid packages and voting, they always have to play ball. They always have to, like, give concessions on shit, which we hear about all the time coming out of Congress and the Senate. But more conspiracy-minded people, instead of saying, okay, well, they're probably just working in the interest of big money, will say it's a kleptocracy. Which is where we're at right now. Hey, is somebody over on YouTube that can ban Jamie Waylock? Okay. Thank you, Banana Brains. And again, one of the key findings of this research, he's saying that he's doing research, he's not showing the actual work, is that Harvard University is one of the largest organized crime fronts in history, which is how they churn out billionaires. It's a major hub of the sprawling criminal network. It can simply be an Ivy League school. That's why they churn out billionaires. Like, because billionaires will go in there. Kids with rich families will go in there. Having an Ivy League background gets you into shit like hedge fund management. That's why. Like, you take a second to unravel these from his conspiracy that he's concocted, and it shows it that it's arguably just as sinister as what he's saying, but much easier to believe. Like, we kind of do have a cabal of people controlling our lives. The rich and powerful are immune from actual prosecution, from tangible consequences of their actions. We know that. Like, we saw it with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, the dude walks on charges of pedophilia. The first time. Alan Dershowitz, friend of Trump, helped him get off. And we know, what was he doing during that time he was supposed to be under house arrest? He was fucking gallivanting on the town and doing all the same shit he was doing before. Like, there is a level of wealth that insulates you from actual consequence. And in my personal opinion, it's a level of wealth that degrades a human's morality. Just because you can. Because you don't see the world like everybody else does. You see yourself as above everybody else. We see that with Elon Musk all the fucking time. Sean, thank you very much for another 20. Goodness gracious, thank you for covering this. You're goated out of your mind. Have a great night. Good night, chat. Thank you, Sean, so much. Good night. And here we see where his tangent really goes off into a very vivid and creative conspiracy, but this is where, when you are so wrapped up in trying to see everything as a puzzle that all fits together, you start seeing everything as pieces, even when it's just not there. As we will see with his thing on the Simpsons. I want to look up really quick. "762 episodes of The Simpsons." Keep that in mind. As it turns out, dozens of the writers of The Simpsons went to Harvard. So I asked myself the question, if The Simpsons served the interests of organized crime, how would it do so? So now he is making the case, based on a few Simpsons episodes, that it is part of a massive brainwashing technique. And he'll also list off other stuff that, oh boy. It offers a dysfunctional family suffering from moral decay, a community incapable of solving its problems, a worker drone who slaves away for an evil billionaire, and cathartic laughs for our poor collective circumstances. Conspiracy theorists do this a lot, where they will, and Alex Jones does it all the time, or he used to do it a lot more, where they talked about things like predictive programming, where essentially they will say that, you know, art, film, music, or whatever, it's meant to make you used to something. You know, like you're going to watch Blade Runner and you're going to get used to the idea of being ruled over by mega corporations. The reality is it's usually backwards from that. It's usually art is a reflection of what artists see in the world, which is why art goes through trends. Like one of the more fascinating trends in horror in the last couple of years like horror is a great actual indicator of it. Because during the Dare Scare, during a rise in evangelical movements through the 1980s and 90s, slasher horror was in. Big old deal slasher horror was. During anxieties about teenagers, drugs, possible violence, slashers like Scream and a whole bunch of knockoffs were in. In the early 2000s, post 9/11, morally gray morality plays in the form of things like Saw, Death Sentence, The Brave One. A lot of stories in the horror space of doing what you need to do to survive, no matter how painful, in the shadow of 9/11. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. Personally, I find that fascinating. I find it likewise fascinating that right after that, after the housing bubble collapse, there was a massive spate of haunted house horror movies. Paranormal Activity, Insidious, The Conjuring, for years and years. And those finally died out a little bit. I feel like we're kind of in this weird waiting zone right now. But you look at the culture around these different movements, and they do peter out due to just audiences being less interested, but you have to ask yourself, why are the audiences interested at that particular time? Why are those the things that take off? I personally think it has something to do with the climate around them. Yes, Yenzo, I mean the 2008 recession. Yeah, no, Terra Nova, I think we're kind of dipping into cult horror. That's been a... Yeah, I would say we're in a... Like, as... removed from cultural movements, I think there is a real renaissance for just very artistic, a lot of 70s inspired stuff, which I'm digging. But you might be right with cult horror. Like, that is definitely something that I've seen pop up a lot. Isolation horror is another... Yeah, that's one that actually... Absolutely, in the aftermath of COVID is something. So it's not when you're talking about things like this, when The Simpsons offers a dysfunctional family suffering from moral decay, a community incapable of solving its problems, a worker drone who slaves away for an evil billionaire, and cathartic laughs for our poor collective circumstances, what is more likely? That even though people were at Harvard, that they are basing it on things that they knew were popular, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, where you had a ton of family sitcoms. Married with Children, Home Improvement, Sanford and Sons. Like, the dysfunctional family dynamic appealed so much. It still does. They still make sitcoms just like that. Because everybody can relate to having family members that you can barely stand them sometimes, or something funny happens. Like, what is more likely, that it is predictive programming or it is based on these universally accepted and recognized traits that we see around us all the time? Because of the way capitalism is formed around us. We see things like worker drones who slave away for an evil billionaire. Like, that is not a new or interesting observation. It's just something that a lot of people accept as their daily life. Like, how old is the idea, boss makes $1, I make a dime? Like, these are things that have been around since the late 1800s. Go watch my video on Dishonored. And he goes into some specifics, which I don't really want to go over. I think this is like taking literally 2 episodes out of a show with more than 700 that were written by tons of different writers across several decades is... I'm going to say this speaks, I think, to the quality of his research. It is about your average conspiracy theorist research, where they will say, look at all this stuff I've looked at, and then look at this undeniable proof, and the proof is just things that have a tangential similarity to reality. We realize the criminal truth of The Simpsons. Our elites are telling us that our eroding collective circumstances are our own fault and we can't do anything about it, while they steal the American dream from us. It is, for lack of a more elegant word, brainwashing. Lastly, we string these major discoveries together. Again, he has not made any actual discoveries. This is your brain on conspiracy posting. This is your brain on do your own research when you don't actually have anything tangible to temper yourself with. When you think everything is a development. When you think watching YouTube videos is doing research. When you aren't looking into the sources behind things. This is why I go through so much effort to exhaustively cite almost every source I use. Consider America since 1988. Institutions like healthcare and universities have become parasitic in their skyrocketing prices. News media tells us to be angry and tribalized. Daytime television warns us of moral decay. Local news tells us to fear our neighbors. The Simpsons tells us we're too oafish and divided to save the American dream. Seinfeld tells us to celebrate the assholes and be irritated by all the normal people around us. This is another thing he gets into where he just blatantly does not understand the media he's criticizing. He's gonna talk about some more stuff, and that's not the point of Seinfeld at all. Seinfeld is not celebratory of assholes. The point of the whole series is that they're awful people. Like, that's... But here's where he gets into some stuff that is actually like, you begin to see his point. Social media, owned by crypto criminals like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, is flooded with nonsense conspiracy theories and memes reminding us that we are hopeless, helpless, anxious, depressed, ironic, scared, apathetic, escapist, lonely, misguided, and jaded, telling us we can't do anything but have a laugh at our circumstances. And it's here where he's kind of cooking. Like, he's like, yeah, I mentioned all that shit at the beginning. Like, yeah, all of that is true. No fucking notes, dude. Liberals mock the hypocrisy of conservatives. Conservatives mock the hypocrisy of liberals, and our collective circumstances erode. The left shouts all cops are bastards, which ensures they'll be hated by the police and the public, and flies in the face of leftist theory. I don't really agree with that. The public's distrust of the government is at an all-time high, but so is the belief that we are helpless to do anything about it. So here we see, again, he is not really picking any political side. At the beginning, he talked about this kleptocracy, and it seems that anybody who ascribes to a political ideology, to him, is the bad guy. Or they might as well be all on the same side. And with this, a sharp rise in apocalyptic messaging. Climate change will kill us all. COVID will kill us all. Vaccines will kill us all. AI will kill us all. No matter the bubbles we ascribe to, we're bombarded with existential crises. We're bombarded with existential crises with no solutions. We've seen a surge in apocalyptic film, literature, and video games that tells us there's no way out of our poor circumstances but societal breakdown. That is, again, not necessarily true. That is not often the message of post-apocalyptic films, and people have been making films about the apocalypse since the 50s. Like, and arguably, again, you can affix what I was saying earlier about different trends in film being based on societal movements, like the 50s being the atomic age, obviously, in the shadow of the Cold War. The ideas about living in a radiated wasteland, pretty scary. You see, carry that on through 60s, 70s, all the way to things like Mad Max. You understand why they happened when they did, why the movies came out when they did. And yeah, we still carry those anxieties with us today, and they still come through in a lot of that media. But sometimes that's just genre convention. Sometimes that's just a franchise. You know? And here's where he really gets... this is where he starts actually kind of breaking down. Zombies tell us that the public is our enemy. If you go to your nearest convenience store, you can buy a can of water called Liquid Death. This is a rotten farce. For our entire lives, we've been flooded with media designed to slowly steer us into a world where the American dream was dead, where the public was rightfully divided against itself, and everybody believed we were powerless to do anything about our worsening circumstances. It is also they can organize an unprecedented apocalyptic rug pull on the entire populace as they pivot to fascism, which is perhaps best understood as kleptocracy at the barrel of a gun. He doesn't specify, outside of the people he talked about at the beginning, he doesn't actually specify how this would happen. Who is actually behind it? We are in a totalitarian doomsday cult. Why on earth would our elites do this? There are many reasons, but the simplest is because capitalism is unsustainable, true, and they knew it. Climate change and resource extraction would catch up eventually, true. So they never intended to sustain it. Again, this is where this is just good points. They knew all along they would gobble up all the wealth they could and then yank the rug out from under us so they could pivot to a hellish fascist dystopia. No connective tissue there. Like, there's just not a lot. Exactly. Kiwi TP and Twitch, it's like 50% true and 50% what the fuck. And that is exactly what I'm saying. This is what happens when somebody can recognize things that are wrong, these imbalances, the injustices in society. Yet, you don't know what to do about it, but to continue just finding more and more ways to make everything you see into puzzle pieces to fit into this conspiracy puzzle. Here is where, like, this is just, he does not understand the media he's consuming, and he's trying to portray it as predictive programming. Let me take a quick break real quick to talk about Shiandri. Thank you for following. Fire Corgi, thank you for resubscribing. How is everybody doing this Friday? I'm chilling. I'm going to probably cook up some chicken after this. Socialist Kowalski, thank you for subscribing at tier 1 for 4 months. I have a cat. I have a cat too. D Che, thank you for rating with a party of 4. I'm sorry I missed that earlier. Yes, and everybody, be sure. Somebody on YouTube, can you ban Emmanuel? No, you know what? Actually, Emmanuel, what makes you say that? What makes you say you're a bomb? First off, it's YOU apostrophe RE. You are an abomination to society. Your abomination to society makes it sound like I have an abomination to society. But what makes you say I'm an abomination to society? I guess they must have run away. What about my abomination to society? Aw, thank you, Banana Boat. Yeah, I think they might have. Unless YouTube is like censoring whatever he's trying to say. And the crowd stays silent. Okay, I'm assuming he left. Type faster. I don't think I called you Banana Boat, did I? Check the tapes. That's okay. So yeah, here's where it goes back into just a worrying lack of media literacy, like just literally not understanding the themes of things and imprinting his own meaning in the most conspiratorial way. Why is Stanley Kubrick's comedy about a mutually assured destruction called Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? Because he was a cocky secret fascist who was getting us to stop worrying and love the bomb. I don't think he watched that movie. I'm going to be real. I don't think he watched that movie because it's pretty clearly a black comedy that was satire. Pretty famously and clearly. It is not about how cool nuclear war is. Why did he make A Clockwork Orange? So we rejoice at ultraviolence designed to desensitize us to the horrors of the world. Again, very clearly not the point of that movie. Like, there's a whole reprogramming sequence. The Droogs, they're called the Droogs, right? Are meant to represent wayward, misguided, violent youth. They're not the heroes of the story. Why were the Manson murders crawling with cover-ups and intelligence agents? Because our government wanted to make us fear for our lives and believe that hippies are deranged psychopaths. I actually want to see what he did here. The book title is a reference to... Largely criticizing O'Neill for exploring too many theories. Early chapters of the book do a convincing job picking out the flaws in Bugliosi's case, but the wheels start to come off when O'Neill begins searching for alternative explanations. So it's... Okay. So it does not conclusively prove anything. It is just speculative, investigative work. Which is interesting. Like, that's interesting. It's not conclusive proof. And here's where I don't really understand what he's trying to get at. Why did the Beatles tell us to fear the taxman, to scoff at revolution, chase nonsense conspiracy theories, and tell us that happiness is a worm gun? So we would believe it. So you're not supposed to fear the taxman? I thought the government was bad and working against us. Chinatown end with defeatism in the face of massive corruption, so we would believe it. That's not... Like, the famous line at the end of Chinatown is Chinatown. Like... It's not a happy ending. That's the point of the piece of art. Why did Wall Street tell us greed is good so we would believe it? Wall Street, another movie, famously not actually about how greed is a good thing. That is the point of that movie. Why did Do the Right Thing tell us we're all racially tribalized so we would believe it? Yeah. And on and on and on. When it comes to any popular media, if you ask yourself the question, why would secret doomsday cult kleptocrats want the public to consume this, you'll find your answers. This assumes that, first off, Do the Right Thing was an independent film, I believe. What am I doing? Budget, $6.2 million. If you've never seen Do the Right Thing, it's a fucking classic. Written and directed by Spike Lee. Critical and commercial success. Let me see production. Yeah, here's where it came from. This incident involved an attack on African-American men in a predominantly Italian-American neighborhood, resulting in one victim being struck by a car and killed. Lee was also influenced by the Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode Shopping for Death, in which the main characters discussed their theory that hot weather increases violent tendencies. Like, art is inspired by the world around us. And that is why, like I was talking about earlier, there are trends in art that you can see and pick out across certain movements that will ebb and flow. They'll change, and people will gain and lose interest with them depending on the culture they're in. There are times where movies or books aren't even relevant until years later. Like this happened with the 60s when a ton of books from the 30s and 40s were revitalized by professors and English teachers and all that kind of shit. It's not because elites make everything. And especially I feel like that is proven by how he just does not understand the very intentional points of the art being made here. This is obviously very bad. This is the last of his thing. This is obviously very bad news, but the biggest lie we've been told is that we're powerless. We've got one way out of hell world, and that's for the public to realize we've been conned completely so we can build a united movement that shatters every lie they've told us, mocks this rotten farce as loudly as it deserves, and aims at nothing short of abolishing our criminal government so we can build one that serves the public. An admirable goal. Let's look at his booklet really quick. For a true history of America since the end of World War II, click here. Oh boy. Here's a federal lawsuit I filed against dozens of perpetrators of current cryptocurrency Ponzi, not for litigation, just to preserve the information and attach my name to it. I was terrified and hadn't slept in days, and it shows, but it served its purpose of keeping myself alive long enough to keep learning and telling the story. I no longer have my original research files from my crypto rabbit hole. If you want to see them, you'll have to get my laptop back from the government. Ask them how they got it. It's a very fun story. I know you know how powerful you are. I wish you a hell of a lot more than luck. So it's not clear what his intention was here. All right, let's look at the true history of World War II. Haunted Carnival Edition. Why? The story was essentially proven. All right, let me. Occupy Returns booklet. He talks more about his Ponzi scheme. Oh boy. Don't take my word for it. Here are Hitler's own words. The size of a lie is a definite factor in causing it to believe, because the vast masses of a nation never credit others with the possibility of such great impudence as a complete reversal of facts. Using Hitler's words about a conspiracy against Jews to prove your conspiracy is like, dude, like, that's big brain shit, but that is not the move. This is our Great Reset, our New World Order. Great Reset, another thing that is very right-wing, very QAnon adjacent. Right. We got to talk about the liquid death thing. This is all over the damn place. The .com bubble, Silicon Valley, Ivy League schools, Great Recession. Punk and metal preached doom, apathy, and hopeless nihilism. Gangster rap celebrated violence, hedonism, and excess. MTV sold a younger generation apathy, irony, and image. Again, that's not actually, like, not all metal and not all rap did that. And the things that were primarily famous for doing those, did those for a short while when people identified with them. Like, gangster rap was really big about violence and hedonism and excess in, like, the 90s to the 2000s. And there are still rappers out there who do that. But it's a much wider genre now. Like, much, much wider. Public was dazzled with violence in all directions. Mobsters and anti-heroes flooded the big screen. What are you, the 1940s? So he's just going through unrelated civil rights movements clamored for radical change as blacks and other minorities were excluded from the promise of the American dream. Daytime talk shows tell us how rotten, decayed. This is just a lot of the same shit. A riotous comedy about nuclear annihilation in the Cold War. Why did Kubrick make it? He told us right there, so we would learn to stop worrying and love the bomb. It's ironic, bro, dude. If you're flooded with ultraviolet media, you will become a better person. The film lies. I always stared at the screen. That is not just not the... Man. All right. Dipshit secrets of our rotten world. Let's... Man. Facts about Peter Thiel. These are true. Well, what I'm seeing here. Okay. Co-founded PayPal with Elon Musk. That is true. Important Facebook investor. Met with billionaire blackmail artist Jeffrey Epstein. Huge proponent of crypto. Fell to his death. Dude, the truth about COVID. Their most evil Ponzi kayfabe. How did they disguise history's most glaring stock market anomaly from the theft of trillions via crypto? They unleashed a pandemic and called the most criminal companies the stay-at-home stocks. The Simpsons is evil brainwashing. Harvard University super crime school. NYU has a blackmail ring and political revenge killings. Again, like I was talking about with Justin Moan, you see these trends, these hyperfixations in the conspiracy surface again and again. Things like The Simpsons, NYU, liquid death. These preoccupations that he has to use as proof because he has managed to fit them into his puzzle somehow. Yeah, Brent C. on YouTube, the human brain evolved to see patterns. Sometimes it goes very wrong. Yeah, that is a fantastic way to put it. And this is just sad. This is a lapse. This is a failure. All right, let's go. I want to read his liquid death thing really quick. Artifacts from the Doomsday Cult. Again, humanity has had a fixation with death in iconography, in fiction, since the beginning of time. Like, how much medieval art is focused on death or demons or gargoyles or, like, curses or any of that shit? So much. It has been a main staple of our artistic exploration as a species, like, since we first learned what it was. Like, the great darkness waiting for all of us at one point or another. Pretty artistically powerful shit. It is not indicative of a death cult because you have a skull on a drink of water, flavored water. With a map to a sea of proof. Want to stare the Doomsday Cult in the face? Just head down to your local convenience store and check out the water selection. There you'll likely see these cans. This is water. Water is life. The fact that water is something we all need to survive has been bottled up and sold to us at unbelievable markups is evidence of kleptocracy. It's just evidence of capitalism. Like, it's just evidence of trying to sell things at a higher premium because of brand recognition. Like, that's capitalism. That's advertising. That's seeing celebrities with something and going, ooh, I want that too, because they have it. The fact we now have a water called Liquid Death shows just how far this criminal disinformation campaign has come, as they've convinced the public to pay money for water that evokes hopelessness and death. It's just meant to look cool. It's just meant to be like water, but cooler. You're in hell, says Palm Wonderful. That they didn't say you're in hell. It says real life is scary. Protect yourself from free radicals with Palm Wonderful. Is that, I'm sure that was like a haunted, flashing, blacklight imagery, like a real scare a jump scare in a horror movie. I'm sure it does not say you're only safe in Hellworld if you buy this juice. He keeps going on about Peter Thiel. What to do? I'll do NYU as a mob front. All of these wild claims have been proven. Fell to her death from his balcony. Shot and killed while on vacation in Puerto Rico with other NYU students. I mean, those are... Yeah, this is just very sad. Like, just deeply sad. Oh, this is his website. This is his Substack. Yeah, this is the one he made. Like, this is all his writing. The Simpsons brainwashed us. Welcome to murder school. Huh. I wonder how many like comments and stuff did these things got. I don't see any comments. I found no evidence of adrenochrome or demonic ritual. These international criminal billionaires appear to have much more mundane motives: money, power, and control. As it turns out, they've gotten far too much of all three. Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good place to end our discussion of this guy, because it is like I can only, looking at people like this and Justin Moan and others. Cloud9, thank you very much for subscribing. Dog. Dog. Stop. What do you want? Hello. Hello. You are such a booger. All right, give me a second. No. You're a booger. Booger dog. There. Looking at him and Justin Moan and others, I think there is only there's only so much we can do to keep this from continuing to happen. And I think as this election especially heats up, and as we continue to see more just heated, inflammatory rhetoric. Dog, seriously, hey. Give me like 5 minutes while I wrap this up, please. Stop. As we see more heated, inflammatory rhetoric coming across, I can only think that we're probably going to keep seeing stuff like this happening, unfortunately. Here you go. Have your little dumb bone. Knock yourself out. Knowledge fight animated. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to go find my headphones so I can listen to this. Where did I put my headphones? All right, watch this for a cooldown, and then I have a dumb YouTuber video to watch. Brent C., thank you very much. Oh, who did we... Do we have another person being a dickhead? Oh yeah, I'm sure I have a lot of dipshits from Synthetic Man stream coming over here.
Be a very different villain.
And now they actually in Japan and Europe have Daleks. They look just like Daleks. Right out of Doctor Who. Whoever designed it copied a Dalek.
Sure.
And they come up and stick a swab up your nose. And if you don't, an inner hatch opens up and a gun comes out. I'm not kidding. It's on the news.
I want one of those. I want one of those right now. I want a swab to gun transfer out of one barrel.
I love that so much. Woo! All right, so there's this robot that's going around.
All right.
And it's programmed.
Yeah, Brent Divine, we just got done. We spent about an hour talking about the guy who set himself on fire today. Thump, $5. Thank you very much. If you're able, can you look up Digbar? Yeah, what is Digbar? Digbar gay raps the album. I don't know if I can play this because it might be, if it's on Spotify, it'll probably get me tagged. But I will look it up and see if it is fit for streaming.
I guess, because he's not saying that someone's captaining this robot, I assume.
Sure.
So the robot comes up to you and it's supposed to swab you.
Yeah.
And somehow it's in its programming that if you refuse, it shakes you down with a gun. It threatens you with a gun.
Yeah, of course.
Presumably not shooting you if you then agree to get the swab.
No, of course not. I would prefer a knife. If it just switched from a swab to a knife and it's like, one of these is going up your nose today.
These
you choose.
machines would be made by doctors who I assume would not prioritize gun.
All right, the head of the Mayo Clinic is a real gun nut.
Yeah. All right. So we're developing this robot that's specifically to test people for COVID to make it so people don't have to risk getting exposed to run tests.
I feel like you didn't answer my only question.
Of course, it has guns.
See, now we're in business. I will greenlight anything.
This is amazing. The mental image is so funny. So if I take this swab, no, I will not.
Okay.
What about now?
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing that tickles me the most. This is what tickles me the most.
The inside hatch.
The gun comes out.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's so great. That's what it's so great.
It's a perfect image. It's so fucking funny.
It's the hatch.
Yeah.
Does it shoot out with a cartoon like spring? Like,
of course.
Boing.
It's got a robot hand.
Yeah.
Stick it up. And then it takes your wallet. Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty damn good. I like that. I might have to watch some more of these. Those are pretty good.
So Alex is in a state of frustration on this episode, and I can understand why. He has a particular thing that I think is actually a pretty good criticism of people like him.
Okay.
But then he has two really, really shitty metaphors.
My frustration is that even the opposition to the New World Order does it all piecemeal. Like, they oppose this piece and that piece and this other piece. It'd be like if I was going to physically attack you.
Oh, no.
And I had hatchets in both hands. And you decided that while I was hacking at you with these hatchets, I'm going to kill you in about 2 seconds. No, I'm killing you in 2 seconds. You're dead. I'm coming at you with hatchets. You decide to
focus.
Attack a hair on my foot, on my ankle.
What are you talking
And you decide to, because you're godlike, I guess, you create a little tiny airplane that's got missiles on it that are microscopic and fly up and blow up one of the hairs on my leg.
What?
That's not going to protect you, okay? And that's basically what this is. It's like a 10 trillion pound gorilla is coming at you. And it's going to pull your head off and pull your arms and legs out of their sockets and then piss on you. And you're looking at it coming at you and you're trying to sweet talk it. It's going to rip your head off, okay? So here's the issue, though. You are a 97 trillion pound gorilla.
Sure.
That's fire breathing and shoots rainbows out of its ass. But you don't know that, and so you're going to get your head torn off.
This show is not on track.
Sir, this is a Denny's, sir.
Can I? Okay.
No, this is all real. This is
the metaphor that he's
no. For those who don't know, Knowledgeify is a podcast that listens to Alex Jones and debunks all the stupid, dumb shit he says. So yes, this is actual Alex Jones. A lot of people don't listen to enough Alex Jones to realize how actually unhinged and stupid he is. He's a deeply unwell person. Like, deeply unwell.
he's trying to illustrate is that people within the anti-New World Order community seem to be missing the forest for the trees.
Yes. At what point do you think, well, obviously the best way to explain my point is to give you the power to conjure tiny airplanes
with tiny
that
missiles
can bomb my hairs.
Right.
And that will get the point across.
Right. Because let me suggest that if I can do that,
I got a lot more power.
right. One of those powers could be I could shrink myself down and pilot that little tiny aircraft, and good luck hitting me with a hatchet then.
I know. He was giving me all these powers, and I'm like, all you have are hatchets.
Yeah.
I can conjure airplanes, man.
I'm going to make your hatchets tiny.
I'm gonna run away from your hatchets and conjure more airplanes, and then they'll become a flying carpet, and I'll get away.
Oh, my God.
I just don't understand.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a real good kind of example of the place he's at. So, nothing's making a lot of sense
Yeah,
today.
you know, he's missing the forest for the tiny airplanes.
Yes,
I think that's
for
what's
sure.
going on here.
For sure.
God damn. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. Now let's go to one. This is, somebody sent this to me, and I want to do it because I don't want to. I want to do something. I want to still keep streaming a little bit. I need to keep streaming a little bit. But I don't want to do something that's going to... Oh, God, it's an hour and a half long. Fuck. Okay, If you like Godzilla and Kong, you should be offended that this is how Hollywood treats them. Counter argument: Godzilla suplex Kong. That comparison to BLM and the statues was so devoid of logic, only a European could have come up with it. Okay, let me see if the whole... Because I know there's the statue thing that he talks about. I don't think that's in the...
Looks like a complete pillock. Eileen is sad because she doesn't want to have to give Echo up, but she knows that she has to because it's the life that little Echo wants, as revealed in that conversation that did...
It's not... Her name isn't Echo. Okay, Alright, so we are going to... Let's start at the beginning. Has he not seen... I doubt he's seen... If y'all don't know, there was actually... I don't think it was this guy, but there was a video review of... It wasn't even a review. It was just a, like, video, quote-unquote, video essay on Godzilla... after Godzilla -1 came out, there's a video essayist who made a video basically talking about, like, well, this is why American Godzilla is better, or no, Japan Godzilla is better than American Godzilla, because American Godzilla is dumb and is military propaganda. And it was maybe one of the dumbest video, like, it got universally clowned on by the kaiju community online. Because it was very clear that the dude was just talking out of his ass and had never seen any Godzilla movies. Other than maybe like -1 and 1 or 2 American Godzilla movies. And this came out the other day, and this is the only video I've seen people clown on quite as much, because this came out the other day, and apparently at some point he compares Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, to Black Lives Matter tearing down statues, and I simply must know why. I have not watched any of the clips going on. But I also refuse to watch this man at normal speed, because an hour and a half, like, I have a strong disdain for reviews that are just summaries. Like, when I gave a review earlier for Civil War, I told you what the film was about essentially. At its basic thematic level, I summed it up. I'm not going to go through every fucking event that happens, because that's not good actual criticism. That's just like being pedantic. And it's this like, I realize it's very popular for YouTubers to do. I realize it's very popular for like every frame of pause and all that shit to make 7-hour videos on an hour-and-a-half film where they bitch about every little thing. But it's still... August Nobel, do you think you'll be putting out a video on the Satanic Temple? If so, when? Yeah, I talked about it earlier. I've been working for like 5 weeks on what is essentially like a documentary on the lies of the Satanic Temple, and I'm hoping to have it out next week. It is. I have fully recorded it. I have a whole bunch of guest stars from... I was about to say my coworkers, from other content creators that some people will probably recognize. Well, I feel like most of my audience would probably recognize all of them, but yeah, I'm pulling out all the stops for the Satanic Temple video, dude. Like it is been I've been doing green screen. I physically filmed stuff for it. I spent like 3 hours working on a 30-second intro sequence. Like I'm putting in work for this one. So when you see a notification, I'll be sending out a notification in the community tab and on Twitter and stuff. Please, please, please make sure to go and sit down and watch it as soon as possible, because it helps the most to get spread as soon as possible. Even if you got to put it on like in the background or something, just getting those numbers up immediately is the most thing that helps. JFits815, thank you, $10. Hello, Dead Domain, love the show. What's your favorite non-Godzilla, non-Kong kaiju? Give me a second. Be right back. It's Gamera. Gamera is my favorite non-Godzilla, non-Kong kaiju. Gamera, right here. This guy. This fella. Little guy. Friend-shaped. Defender of the universe. Friend. Love him. Dead Domain, because to put it bluntly, SBHMN level of media literacy. If one of these losers saw the original Planet of the Apes today, they say the statue scene is about tearing down liberty. Here come the toys. Could this be dog? That's a normal turtle. Yeah, she's not chewing on a Kong. She is chewing on a, she has a bone. I do like Giron quite a bit. I've wanted a Showa era Giron figure. I've considered pulling pulling the trigger on a X Plus Giron many times. Have a good Gamera recommendation. Yeah, the show, or not the Showa. I love the Showa series, but the Heisei series. Go find the Heisei movies. Just get better and better, but the first one is Kino. Like Gamera, Defender of the Universe, Protector of the Universe. The first one was made in 1995. I think Defender of the Universe. Yeah, 1995. Shusuke Kaneko, go bump that shit, because that is like the Gamera Heisei trilogy. The trilogy of Gamera films that were made in the 90s are, bar none, like including Heisei Godzilla, including all of Godzilla, are some of the best kaiju films you're gonna get. Like if you are somebody who finds yourself getting more into kaiju movies or wanting to get more into them after seeing like -1, and you're like, okay, -1, maybe I'll check out Shin Godzilla, maybe check out some of the MonsterVerse movies. From there, Gamera, 1995. Then you want to do Attack of Legion, and the third one that I don't remember what the name is. Legion is the second one. And no, Legion is the third one. Why am I getting these mixed up? Revenge of Iris. No, Attack of Legion is 2. Revenge of Iris is 3. And then Gamera the Brave, 2006. Often forgotten. Kind of a banger. Like, low-key banger. I really like the, whatever the villain was. Zetus. Yeah. It's a gnarly one. But Gamera the Brave is like a kaiju Spielberg movie. Like, it is hella Spielberg inspired. And that gives it just has like this really warm, kind of unique feeling to it. I don't know. Gamera the Brave, I really enjoyed. Yes, Renderu, I know. I still need to set up a Discord movie night. When I'm done with this goddamn video, Gamera in 1999 was... There was a documentary on Gamera directed by Hideaki Anno? What? The fuck? Where can I get that? Shibiria's Woe, based. Godzilla vs. Biollante is a good one. Yeah, there's a Discord. There's it's only for patrons. I think it's $3 and more. All right, but with that good Godzilla stuff out of the way, kaiju stuff out of the way. Let's see what this guy says.
As of now, dozens of people are reported killed, thousands of others injured.
Oh.
Civil defense stations are being set up
I
throughout
see
the
what
island
he's
of
doing.
Manhattan.
Since the World Trade Center bombing, hundreds of thousands of people have jammed.
I think this is for this is using why feet Diddy? I don't. Is it just the 9.99 from Bruce Magnuson? It seems like a lot of conspiracy theories come from noticing the problems of capitalism without wanting to blame capitalism. So you twist a new boogeyman. Unfortunately, it goes into JQ stuff real fast. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Although the weird thing about Max, the guy we were just looking at, is that he did essentially blame capitalism, but just by blaming billionaires. Like blaming them for the system that they uphold. But like Elon Musk didn't create the problems that we have today. He's upholding them. He didn't create it. Have an almost 2 foot tall GMK Godzilla figure. Oh my god. GMK Godzilla is my favorite. I think I still have. Yeah, I have my NECA over here. I have a couple. I put a couple of them away recently, but I always forget what I've actually kept out and what I actually have. I'm looking at my Haya Toys King Ghidorah right now, which is just fucking massive. And then my Super 7. I actually got the Mega Bloks Godzilla v Kong. I haven't built Mega Bloks since I was betrayed as a child and they fucking broke. But yeah. Do I remember Godzilla 98? Ha! God damn, Zolarhus, that must have cost a pretty penny. All right, let's...
The streets in the largest evacuation in the history of this city. And many people are not happy about it.
YouTube's monetization rules frown on gratuitous swearing and graphic sexual imagery and such within the first few seconds of a video, so this review of Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire will begin shortly.
Oh, I was being very cute with it. Do I have the Godzilla magic cards? I actually have 2 of them right here. I have Baby Godzilla, Ruin Reborn, and Godzilla King of the Monsters. I got those right here. And I have a Destroya in my thing. All right, yeah, I get he's gonna start it and be like really, really crass and crude and talk about how fucking dumb. Again, I haven't seen this. I'm just predicting it. I know how this goes.
This film is a fucking disaster. Oh, we should probably be clear. The entire Monsterverse, with the arguable exceptions of Skull Island and that Godzilla movie from 2014, yeah, the entire thing besides those two is a fucking disaster.
Trump meme. Wrong. Very wrong. All right, let me see if I can put that into theater mode for y'all. There we go. That'll be better.
Its target audience is made up almost exclusively of brain-dead morons, and people who are careless about their children, so take them to the movies ensuring that they too can grow up to become brain-dead morons. There are two typical defenses made for schlock of this sort. Some will say that, well, you know, they're only in it for the monster fights, and so that's fine. Others will make the broader point that it's just a blockbuster, and not everything can be Shakespeare, so stop complaining. Why do you hate fun? So whenever a new, expensive, terrible film comes out that involves monsters or dinosaurs or giant robots, we are apparently expected to put up with a whole bunch of people who are, shall we say, homo without the sapiens, and who tell us that we aren't allowed to be mean about the terrible films they consume because in effect they are meant to be bad. That's what makes them...
No, they aren't meant to be bad, but Adam Wingard in particular has a long-held respect for the Showa series, which comes through in the just bonkers sci-fi weirdness of Godzilla v Kong and Godzilla X Kong. And I fucking love that. Like, I love that there's somebody out there throwing caution and logic to the wind if it helps to tell a more interesting story. If it helps to tell a more entertaining story, which is his goal. Like, the things that he's talking about, he's trying to act like this is the same as, like, the Michael Bay Transformers movies, like the worst of those. Like, no. Go fucking compare Godzilla X Kong to Dark of the Moon. Or even worse, The Last Night or some shit. And then fucking get back to me.
So good. Neither of these arguments are accepted by those who offer them when the subject is a film they dislike, of course. Both strands of this defense of the cretinous are severely deficient. In the first place, you might just be in it for the big monster battles, yet the Monsterverse films in particular average, what, an 80-20 split? If you're...
That's, like, on par with most Godzilla films and better than a lot of the best ones. So, like... I don't know what point you're making. I'm moving it up to 1.5. I can't.
Lucky, 20% of the film might be big CGI monsters fighting each other, but the remaining 80% is invariably taken up by human plot lines that would depress a room full of monkeys on typewriters. Why must we use the typewriters, they frustratedly ask, when these guys just...
Very funny that he... I'm sorry, I might keep pausing this. It's very funny that he listed Godzilla 2014 as one of the good ones when that has easily the worst human plot line. Easily. The stuff with Gia is 10,000% more interesting than anything in fucking Godzilla 2014.
Just throw shit at the paper and run with whatever sticks. See, even the film accepts that this is what it's doing. This movie doesn't respect you. There's absolutely no cast iron rule that states monster movies have to have terribly written human plots. Every single monster movie with terribly written human plots would be improved by better human plots. This is how we can say that Godzilla -1 is better than anything the Monsterverse has to offer, that Godzilla 2014 is better than Godzilla X Kong, that Jurassic Park is better than Jurassic World, and that Jaws is better than Meg 2 The Trench. Which leads us neatly into the second strand of this audience retardation. It's only a blockbuster, don't you see? Blockbusters are not Shakespeare, as though the great playwrights didn't aim for big summer grand slams themselves. But anyway, this idea that simply being a blockbuster in some way makes a film immune to the usual standards of criticism is dumb for a host more obvious reasons.
I'm sorry, but like him comparing it, like, oh, why can't it, like him essentially saying here, why can't it be Shakespeare, as he's showing video of a monkey, a giant monkey with a robot fist punching a building. Like, you can have range, my dude. It doesn't need to be Shakespeare. Sometimes it can be silly, and that can still be fun. The thing that makes the Monsterverse better than something like a lot of the shit that Marvel's been pumping out recently, like Quantum Mania or something, is that there's a sense of tangible fun to it. There's not just a sense of fun, though. There's a sense of craft. There's an intention behind the direction. Whether it's homage, like Adam Wingard loves doing, to those old Showa series, whether it's wanting to bring new kaiju and new monsters into this world. Like, there's stuff behind it. And especially him, I don't think he's mentioned Monarch, the show, yet, which is a fucking phenomenal story that is incredibly character focused. I would say it's up there with -1, personally. And I love -1. I saw it 7 times in theaters.
This film released, I had half a mind to make a lengthy comparison with Godzilla -1, since -1 is a wonderful film, and the MonsterVerse generally is the cinematic equivalent of an enema. But -1 is much more a genre piece than it is a blockbuster. -1 uses Godzilla sparingly and is a kind of mythic representation of a lost war. Godzilla in -1 is the psychological Earth threat, and
Here we get... This is going to be very fun to listen to, because we get somebody who does not know shit about Godzilla, trying to say like, yes, here he's going to be much like his original incarnation. He's meant as a metaphor for things. But guess what? There were 40 fucking movies after that where Godzilla represented plenty of other things. From unethical genetic experimentation to pollution to fucking the horrors of World War II and the things Japan did to other countries, to just a silly guy. And the MonsterVerse pays homage to the just a silly guy part of it, to the Showa era, an era that means so much to so many people. Like, you can have both, is the problem that he's like not getting here.
Film is pretty well exclusively a character study, concerning itself with how specific people react to loss and with how a culture redeems itself after the great defeat. Godzilla in -1 is the embodiment of the alien victor, almost a surrogate for the Allied forces and the new world they forced upon an isolated people. Defeating Godzilla is a story of indirect redemption. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. It is a truly excellent film, and it's not completely incomparable to blockbuster entertainment. It shares many points of commonality with Jaws. It is essentially Jaws with socio-historical context, whereas Jaws was primarily concerned with individual characters on the local scale, and Jaws became known as the first summer blockbuster. It's the socio-historical point that differentiates the two and makes -1 less useful as a comparator with the blockbuster category in general.
El
because the
Corgi,
importance of its
I'm
historical
not
grounding,
sure
as well
how
as
you
its
send a
foreign
super
language
chat.
and its specific cultural trappings make it less universal in its appeal. It objectively does character.
Cast
romance,
review
world
got
building, kaiju.
refused. What? Refuted? By who? Oh, if refuted is different than refused.
And arguably even action better than any MonsterVerse movie if your definition of action rests on action having a point and a purpose, which would make it a useful comparator when looking at the individual elements of any movie. But I'm going to resist the urge to do any point-for-point contrast in this video. That's in part because the MonsterVerse generally, and Godzilla X Kong specifically, is just not worth the effort. In part because I can't be bothered to deal with all the comments telling me that these are different films trying to do different things, so they can't be compared at all. And in part because there's more
I love how he is just like, he acknowledges all the ways in which he's wrong, but saying that I'm not going to pay attention to it because they're wrong and I'm right. And anybody who says these things aren't worth my time. Very good.
than enough for which to bully Godzilla X Kong without going for the nuclear option that comparison entails. It's absolutely true that the blockbuster tends to be defined by its general mass appeal. These are the filmic all-rounders. They tend to have a little bit of everything.
Damn, I
Action,
fucking
romance,
hate how
comedy,
they
tragedy,
summarize
but all
everything
tends to be
on...
broadest appeal. None of these elements might be quite so well done, so fleshed out as in a more particular genre film, though the best blockbusters typically do excel in every element. But the point is that blockbuster entertainment is not synonymous with dumb. Popularity does not entail mindlessness. The audience has never looked at the truly great blockbusters throughout history and demanded they be made dumber. The biggest and the best blockbusters, the ones we remember most fondly, are remembered because they are good, not because they are supposed to be bad. If Godzilla -1 were an English-language film, if it were slightly less reliant on the specifics of another culture's history, and if it were published in the summer by a major studio, I suspect that, like Jaws, we would now be calling it a blockbuster. It's not, so we aren't, but any list of...
It is a blockbuster. What the fuck are you talking about?
The following were good.
How is it not a blockbuster? It has broken sales records in both Japan and America. Like, just because it's relatively smaller scale, like, what are you talking about?
Because they were supposed to be shit. Die Hard, Men in Black, Terminator 2, Blade Runner, Saving Private Ryan, Spider-Man 2, Jurassic Park, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Babe, The Iron Giant, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Chicken Run, Empire Strikes Back, Avengers, Aliens, WALL-E, Jaws, The Dark Knight, Finding Nemo, E.T., and Kevin Bacon. These are all blockbusters. Very many of them are the sorts of films you take the kids to see. And absolutely none of them has to be defended by hordes of absolute on the grounds that they are meant to be bad because they are blockbusters. In short, Godzilla X Kong has no excuse. If you like kaiju films, if you think kids deserve good entertainment, the best entertainment, since it's the most important at that formative stage in their lives, if you want big things smashing into each other, if you want CGI extravaganzas, if you want your favorite big monsters to get the mainstream love you think they deserve, then you should want this film to be better. You should not be excusing it because it's meant to be bad. Nobody suffers when a film is better.
Nobody has said it's meant to be bad. It's just not ultra serious. Like, it's not bad. Like, it's maybe meant to be silly. It's meant to not take itself as seriously. It's meant to be a reflection of the Showa era of kaiju films, but it's still telling a complete story. It's not meant to, nobody who made Godzilla X Kong went, oh yeah, we're going to make a real fucking pile of shit. Like, no, they were thinking, yeah, we're going to make a cool monster movie. That's the movie we want to make. We want to make something cool and fun. Not bad. Like, what? God, I fucking hate that.
Culture generally suffers when its biggest budget productions are this kind of bilge. And if you acknowledge any of the preceding list as being better than Godzilla X Kong, then, much like all those people from whom I had to drag the conclusion that Jurassic Park is better than Jurassic World Dominion, you are beginning to engage the very critical faculties you insist do not apply to blockbusters.
Okay,
TLDR,
no, that's not the same comparison, because Jurassic Park is a finely layered film. Jurassic Park is just an amazingly rewatchable film. Jurassic World Dominion is not. It is jangling keys. Like, it runs into all the same other requel problems that we faced with the fucking Ghostbusters movie and Star Wars and all these other things. It just doesn't have that sauce. It doesn't have that juice. You're running over the same plot points again with slightly different characters and some of the same ones. Like, and that is on the tracks of Jurassic World, the fucking Fallen Kingdom, which is legit one of the dumbest big budget movies I've ever fucking seen. Ends with maybe the worst plot point that led to Dominion. Like, what are you talking about?
Respect and stop watching this absolute dog shit. I don't think there's much point doing any lengthy recap of the Monsterverse story, because I've got a Dune video to get back to after this, and none of it makes any sense anyway, because it's meant to be bad and therefore it's good. Am I doing this right? Suffice it to say that there are big monsters and Godzilla is king of the monsters. He and Kong defeated Mecha Streisand in the previous film, because some evil people had the evil idea that we might need a weapon to fight against these big monsters, rather than leaving it to the big monsters to police themselves, at a cost of hundreds of billions of dollars in property damage and tens of thousands of lives lost each year. Also, there's this place called Hollow Earth that the humans have discovered, and Kong lives there now. One of the humans is a mystical deaf Indian kind of child with psychic powers, and though she's
fucking what? Can the British not be racist? Is that are they able to do that? Indian kind of child. Gia is an islander. Like, what? She's from Skull Island.
Character, and she has the expressive range of old toast, she is most definitely important, so I'm sure we'll have to suffer more human anti-drama in the film that's good if you ignore the 80% of it that's human anti-drama and you just focus on the giant monsters or whatever. This brings us up then to Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Quite what the new empire is in this film is entirely unclear. There are no empires in this film. Nobody creates a new one, nobody discovers a new one, nobody takes charge of a new one, but it's
yes, there is. Did you not pay attention? The Scar King, that it's clearly referencing the Scar King. Good God.
Succeeds Godzilla vs. Kong as surely as make-up sex follows a fight. This title is proof that there are no depths of depravity to which shippers will not sink. Look, here's an example of the sorts of heathen nonsense shippers go in for. Godzilla X Kong, Rule 34. Oh my god! And it's still less offensive than Godzilla, the Fallen Empire, or whatever the fuck this shit's called. We begin by ruining Elvis Presley harder than barbiturates and burgers.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, fuck, no, it's Jim Reeves, isn't it? I think it might be Jim Reeves. I don't have any Jim Reeves jokes. Oh, well, whatever the case. Welcome to my world, he croons as the film gives us Hollywood's latest ludicrously expensive, entirely flat and tedious CGI vista. Won't you come on in? I'd really rather not, actually, but, you know, the Dune script's taken ages to put together, and the channel needs content, so here we are, I guess. There are pterodactyls. There's Kong. He's being chased by giant hyena, rat, man, bear pig monsters, and oh no, he gets stuck on the edge of a cliff, but oh yay, it turns out the entire canyon is a trap that he laid, and it
he just recorded the whole thing?
In half and sprays its blood all over himself, and fans of this sort of thing start feeling all heart. They wish they were the giant monkey, but instead of monster guts being sprayed all over them, it's creamy monster cum, and this scares the other man bear pigs away.
What?
Monkey man goes for a shower, then sits down and admires the view. He tries to snack on a hyena rat thing, but he chips a tooth, and then some lizard goober steals his lunch, and now he's sad. And he
excuse you, you know-nothing bitch? That's Doug. That's Doug. Lizard thing. He has a name. Doug.
toothache. He's having a really bad day. This toothache is a significant development in the plot. No, I'm not being sarcastic. It really is. You'd be surprised by how significant Kong's toothache turns out to be. And then you'll be surprised at how insignificant that significant thing turns out to be. But we'll get there in due course. Unfortunately, this is where we leave one of the best bits of the movie, and we hop away to the humans, which is when things get very, very dumb. But Platoon, we just watched these films for the monsters. So yeah, why are these people here, and why are they taking up all of my time with their annoying fucking humanness? Our segue is the form of a lecture that attempts to clumsily remind everyone what happened in the previous movie. You know, the bit where they take a spaceship down to the center of the Earth and find another world down there. The bit that should make you very depressed because you're sitting here watching this, when you could be watching Journey to the Center of the Earth instead.
Most of human civilization, we believe that life can only exist on the surface of the planet.
Oh yeah, oh, it's Eileen again. Remember Eileen from the last movie? What a terrific character, and also what an absolute fucking moron. Eileen, fish are not a new discovery. We've known about them for a while. Same thing with ants. Moles exist. Our ancestors lived in caves. We've known about things living underground since before we had writing. I mean, come on, Eileen. See what I did there? Yeah, that's kind of the level we're operating on here, folks. It's going to be like this the whole time.
I have him at... yeah, I think he is just a Mauler clone. This fucking blows, dude. This guy has 182,000 subscribers. Fuck, man. I could make so much money doing this grift. God.
You're here. I had a laugh at the expense of this stupid line on Twitter, and one or two people attempted to autistically tell me that it's actually a perfectly fine line, because Eileen was obviously referring to the entirety of the Earth's crust as the planet's surface, not just the surface of the Earth's crust, which is quite explicitly defined as the meeting point between the ground and the atmosphere. One person in particular attempted to explain away the problem with this line, having attempted and incorrectly set out the difference between the Earth's crust and the Earth's surface. This person then had the gall to accuse me of being pedantic for taking the line at face value. This is the kind of autistic nonsense you get used to when you are, for instance, accustomed to arguing with fans of Jurassic World. So yes, I'm familiar with this sort of thing. I am familiar with fans desperately trying to make dumb movies make sense, rather than accepting that many of their flaws are so simple and stupid that they'd be incredibly easy to repair. There were a million other ways to write this little recap section Eileen is giving us here, and they went with that. You shouldn't be excusing this sort of nonsense. You should demand it clears the lowest of low fucking bars.
Well, after a certain point, you have to wonder, what else were we working on?
We weren't wrong about that, Eileen. This is a you problem. Why are you giving this TED Talk when you apparently failed the second grade in pretty much every subject? Anyway, this is our excuse to start telling the audience.
I find the fact that he continues to, like, basically only use South Park stuff as cut-ins incredibly fucking telling. Yeah, no, in QETP, it must be miserable to watch movies this way. I didn't sound like this when I was talking about Civil War, did I? Like, I didn't sound this fucking pedantic and shitty. We're 14 minutes in.
Only 5% of Hollow Earth has so far been mapped, but Kong's moved in there now and he seems to be enjoying himself, except for the fact that he is lonely, because his species is supposed to be social, and yet he's all alone, which means you don't even need to watch the trailers to know that Kong's about to bump into a load of other Kongs, and that this movie is about to show you what Planet of the Apes would be like if everything was bigger and worse in every conceivable way. Godzilla, meanwhile, has been wandering about, killing the big bad titans that spawn in every now and then, causing incalculable damage to every famous landmark they stumble across. Look at him go there, fighting away. Pretty sure they wiped out all of Italy there, but you know, sometimes you have to destroy ancient civilizations in order to save them, right?
Godzilla's on the surface, Kong is below. As long as they don't venture into each other's territories, we've got nothing to worry about.
What? No, what? There are huge monsters spawning all over the place, and you have to just hope that a giant radioactive dinosaur is going to stop them without destroying.
Very clearly talking about they don't have to worry about Godzilla and Kong fighting anymore. Two apex predators. This is something that was like... These are very simple concepts that are explained in movies that I'm not going to say they're high art, but are pretty fucking simple to follow. How they are beyond you is... Uchronian, I don't know. This guy has been going around Twitter lately.
Everything in its path, but no, okay, sure, Eileen, nothing to worry about. We're all fine. God, Pacific Rim is a better kaiju film than Godzilla. They actually consider consequences in Pacific Rim. They sometimes remember that these battles are wiping out whole cities and lots of people are dying. This has consequences for human society. God, how does it feel, Japan? How does it feel to know Pacific Rim is better than Godzilla now? Some science people are sitting around monitoring Godzilla's excursions. On their monitor, we see that he's gone for a nap inside the Colosseum. Somehow he...
Does he think Pacific Rim is a bad movie? The fuck? Dog. Yeah, Terra Nova Pacific Rim is goated. Like, top tier. Top 10 kaiju films. Fucking what?
seems to have climbed into it without causing much if any damage at all, which is very considerate of him, but I'm pretty sure that's just so he can destroy it on camera later. Kong, meanwhile, is wandering around looking for a girlfriend. Then, a beacon of some sort that the scientists have placed in this world, even though we've been told they've only mapped 5% of it, activates as the dead hyena rats from earlier fall into a massive hole of some sort that the scientists' computers instantly 3D map, informing them that the hole has broken into uncharted territory. Despite 95% of the place being uncharted territory, this bit of uncharted territory is significant enough to trigger a response from whatever the big organization thing is in these movies now. Is it still Monarch? I think it's still Monarch. I don't care. I'm calling it Monarch. Eileen works for Monarch, and she is very interested in this new anomaly. Meanwhile, the deaf Indian child from the last film, Echo, I think her name is Echo, she's in school, but she begins having strange visions. She goes into a trance and starts frantically scribbling.
How the fuck do you spend time watching a movie enough to record it and you can't even remember characters' names that are said multiple times? Organizations that are said multiple times? Like, if it's said just once or an offhanded mention, that's understandable. But this is something that's carried over between all the fucking movies at this point. Like, this just makes you look like a dipshit.
Page. This means that Eileen, who is Echo's foster mother, or something of that sort, is called in for a chat. Her teacher is concerned. Echo's grades are slipping. She doesn't have any friends. And also she's taken to scrawling demonic triangles in class for some reason. But Eileen says this is all fine. She's just adjusting to her new world. She's not just culturally displaced, which is a term the teacher uses to describe many of her students. I guess this is the result of the mass immigration that comes from hundreds of millions of displaced people fleeing cities destroyed by Godzilla in events that are absolutely nothing to worry about, according to Eileen. Eileen tells the teacher that Echo isn't just culturally displaced, she is her culture. She's the last of her tribe, which means, yes, the film is trying to do a theme. No, it's not very good, but, you know, Indian girl, King Kong, they're the same. They're all alone. What they need is family. Echo and Eileen have a little heart-to-heart in the parking lot in sign language. I don't speak sign...
Not like that was at all a theme of the last movie and is being continued here to the climax where they both find a place to belong and accept their new home and find their place within it. Like, not at all like it was a culmination of a storyline that had been written and considered. But sure, whatever. Again, I'm not defending it, saying it's like amazing or anything, but acting like it's just not that thing. That does not for good critique make.
language, but I'm not a bad lip reader, and the dialogue in this film is bad, so, I don't need to translate the Spanish subtitles in my cinema, where I definitely am, trust me bro, to tell you that this conversation is exactly what you would expect it to be. Echo says she has no friends and she doesn't belong here. Eileen says you belong with me and I belong with you because we're family, etc. Echo huffily gets into some product placement and they drive home. Now, because these films are designed for brain-dead people, and because the films know they are designed for brain-dead people, they are very aware that they need to find a way, anyway, literally anything will do, because the audience is brain-dead, of expositing key events from the previous film. After all, one of the hallmarks of blockbusters apparently is that they're almost instantly forgettable and they leave
Dude, how are you gonna complain about people expositing key events from previous films when you can't even remember the names of characters, organizations, or the very obvious themes of these films that are made to appeal to wide audiences? Movies that you're supposed to bring your kids to. How the fuck are you gonna complain about that when you are the person that the exposition is for? You are the person. You're the dummy. Good God.
Absolutely no pop culture footprint at all. Jaws, Jurassic Park, Godzilla vs. Kong, they're all blockbusters. They're all equivalently forgettable. They're all basically the same, right? Because, being bad makes them good. Here, this clunky reminder of the previous film's... I'm gonna have to call it a story. The clunky reminder of the previous film's story takes the form of an almost completely implausible documentary about Echo and her role in the last film that Eileen has on in the background, even though she's one of the few people in the world who has absolutely no need for a documentary about her own adopted daughter. Also, who the fuck made this documentary about an orphaned Indian child, last of a very remote tribe, and her involvement in highly sensitive military expeditions with giant monsters down to the center of the earth from the previous movie? How does any documentary crew get either the information presented here?
Yeah, who would want to learn about that? Like, that would be a terrible thing to make a documentary about. Good God.
Or permission to use the information presented here. And why is Eileen watching it? She already knows it all. She was there. But the audience is brain dead and has definitely forgotten the previous movie already. So never mind. This'll do. While the documentary fills us in on everything we forgot from the previous film, Eileen looks at Echo's scribblings and she has a brainwave. Triangles? What do triangles resemble? Well, you might be thinking, lots of things are triangles. Pizza slices, Toblerone, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, an infographic matching various Godzilla films to the IQ of their intended audience. Or maybe seismograph readings. Yes, for no other reason than to move as quickly as possible along what I really resent having to call the plot. Little Echo has been hallucinating some sort of seismograph readings that match the seismograph readings produced when that hole somewhere in a 95% unmapped hollow Earth opened into one of the other bits of the 95% 95% unmapped hollow Earth. So clearly, a thing is happening here. Back in the science station, the seismograph is
Terra
taking
Nova, Diddy is in the movie because it's from a music video from the 1998 Godzilla, and I don't know why he's cutting it in. I don't get it. He hasn't explained it. I think he just thinks it's funny. I'm just gonna go. Where does the nerd with a suit? If you're in chat, when does he come to the Black Lives Matter thing? Oh, is that around? That's got to be around the pyramid fight, I think. All right, let's... Spoilers, I guess, for Godzilla Kong. Godzilla X Kong, Cairo battle, yeah. To surface. All right, we're going to go from here.
distress it because she really makes actual Echo, Marvel's Echo, Maya Lopez Echo look like Laurence Olivier. I don't think this character has ever pulled a single facial expression. Look at her here, look at her in this scene. Look at her here, look at her in this scene. Now look at her dancing with the happy Indian kids. This is just their normal face. She only has one expression. She looks like she knows that she looks like a complete pillock. Eileen is sad because she doesn't want to have to give Echo up, but she knows that she has to because it's the life that little Echo wants, as revealed in that conversation that didn't happen earlier. Bernie, observing the Quantum Indians, deduces that they power their city by oh, for fuck's sake. Bernie deduces that the Quantum Indians power their city by manipulating gravity using magical pyramids. I don't even... Okay. Crikey tells him not to publish...
That's fucking cool, dude! Like, what are you talking about? Like, a gravity-powered ancient city at the center of the earth? Like, that is that Showa-era shit I'm talking about. That is that wild pulp sci-fi fantasy that Adam Wingard, like, you... How... I don't think that's fucking dumb. I think that's cool. I think that's cool. Like, I think that's interesting. They're making a unique, interesting culture out of it. Like, fuck, man.
These findings. Not because they're just so incomprehensibly fucking dumb, but because he says this place is an unspoiled paradise. It won't survive contact with the outside world if he reveals its location. But I'm pretty sure they'd be fine because, you know, as we've established over at least 2 films now, A, the government and the corporations and such already know it.
So... the interesting part about that is that Bernie at the beginning of the movie starts out as basically a corollary to, oh god, who was Jack Black's character in the 2005 Kong? Not Driscoll, Denham, Carl Denham, who wants to film everything, wants to show it to the world, wants to capitalize on everything. And Bernie's lesson here is the opposite of that. It is actually a nice reflection, I feel, on the legacy of King Kong. To have a character go into this world and realize that it's perfect the way it is. That it is unspoiled by the modern world. That it has an ecosystem and subsists on its own. Like, that's what I got from that. Which I completely... like, I don't think that's accidental, knowing Adam Wingard, knowing how seriously he takes the legacy of these movies.
About this place, and B, this place is incredibly hard to get to. You need spaceships capable of surviving a 2001 reference to get down here. And C, this place is also full of incredibly lethal giant monsters. I'm not sure members of the public fully understand this, but I'm quite sure they couldn't just hop in a whirlpool and become interdimensional Hollow Earth tourists, ruining the place with their second homes. I don't think that's much of a risk, crikey. Anyway, then the Quantum Indians spin a rickety old wheel, which deactivates a Wakandan force field thing that they have that shields their entire civilization from people outside for no good reason, and it lets in injured Kong, accompanied by Diddy Kong.
For no good reason. They open it for Kong. Do you think they might have it? Again, these are things that you're supposed to infer with your brain. But because they're not explicitly explained, he doesn't understand them. Do you think it might be to keep out other giant animals? Like the things we saw chasing Kong earlier? Or the other monkey? Like Jesus Christ.
Ridders was walking literally 5 feet behind him, so he now knows where the Quantum Indians live. Kong was able to find this place because of his psychic connection with Echo. He falls over and she attempts to act. It is really quite tragic. Kong's problem, as Crikey explains, is that his arm now has severe frostbite from his encounter with Godzuki. Evil Ape, meanwhile, teleports home and tells Scar King where the Quantum Indians live. Nope, I'm not condensing any of this. The film really does just jump around like a coked up child on a bouncy castle. The apes are now off to war. Scar King rides on top of Godzuki's...
Right, I'm gonna go to this.
Scar King and Godzuki from reaching the surface, which we've now established, since Kong is running from here to the surface, and they are free to walk from their prison to here, but they could have done it at any point before now, and they just didn't, because if they did, the film wouldn't work. Right. You know, I think just maybe this whole film is maybe, just possibly, perhaps, there's a slim, tiny little chance that this film is a bit broken. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just can't appreciate how good it is, because I don't fully appreciate how bad it is. When enlightened people know that it's as good as it is because of how bad it is, but no, I'm just sticking with the theory that this is just broken, dumb shit. Meanwhile, thousands
No, actually, it's just not bad, you dumb... Like, you have... I've skipped so much of this, and he's just gotten, like, facts wrong. Like, assertions wrong. And I can only imagine how much more of that there is in the middle. But, like, you're just wrong, dude.
miles away. We are now in Egypt, so more famous landmarks can be obliterated.
Thousands of years ago, people were very bored because card games hadn't been invented yet. So in order to pass the time, they started killing each other with magical powers. Then, one day, a nameless Egyptian pharaoh with ridiculous hair decided to lock the magic away so that its evil could never fall into the wrong hands. And so the people of Egypt were forced to spend their time building pyramids, which ironically was just as tedious as playing card games.
A glowing portal appears in the ground next to one of the Great Pyramids, and Kong climbs out of it.
Oh no, we're trapped! Quick, let's start drinking our own urine. Shouldn't we just wait for help, or...? Shut up and drink your urine!
I don't know if this means Kong can open portals, or whether...
Like... God, what the fuck, man? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
The sand covers a portal, and he just climbs through it and climbs through the sand, but the portal was always there.
The pyramid's collapsing, and I had such a full life ahead of me. Run away, run away! This is the
Why do you
worst
keep
honeymoon
cutting
ever.
that shit
Sure
in?
that's not how it works, because what if a tourist just walked into it? But as good timing would have it, Pink Eye Godzilla appears at just this moment. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Echo is being initiated into the ranks of the Quantum Indians so she can go and wake up Mothra, which, as Eileen handily explains for us in case we missed it the first time, is key to protecting Godzilla, so Godzilla can protect the Hollow Earth and its pathways to the surface from the Scar King. I think those are the stakes. It's a little bit confusing at this point. Mothra wakes up and Mothra flies off. The Quantum Indians decide to evacuate their...
It's super not confusing. It's not confusing at all.
Little Quantum Indian town. Something about gravity pyramids is mentioned again. I don't think it makes sense. I'm just going to play it because I don't care.
Gravity, the pyramids, gravity, I got it now. With a chemical reaction, this liquid metal becomes an engineering mechanism, forcing the two electromagnetic pyramids together, causing an anti-gravity shockwave, but only for a few minutes or maybe less, which should keep those things from the portals. After that, everything that is up will come crashing down.
And then Crikey pretty much completely redeems himself as a character. Crikey utters the most meta line in quite possibly the entire history of meta lines.
While we are throwing random stick at the ball.
Yeah, this guy gets it. This guy knows what's going down. This guy knows what film he's in, which means whoever wrote him knows what's going down and what this film really is. And rather than writing something that doesn't resemble throwing shit at a wall, they thought, fuck it, this'll do. We'll just have a character sort of jokingly point out how shit it is. So now here we are, watching the results. Do you see what I mean, guys? Do you see what I mean, darling? When I say that the film is insulting you poor, strange Monsterverse fans, do you get it yet? You're being fleeced, you brainlets. The film thinks you're dumb, and the film is quite possibly right. Crikey's mad plan is to go get some reinforcements. So yes, obviously we're doing the electric pterodactyl bit. That is very clearly where we're going, but still, at least they set it up. At least they trailed it. At least they got a mention at the beginning that can pay off in a few minutes' time. At least he didn't say, oh, by the way, funny thing, as luck would have it, complete by chance, I totally forgot about it, but I just remembered. Luckily, fortunately, guys, we've got an Infinity Gauntlet in the shed. We can just go and grab that. God, well done, film. We're about 15 minutes out from the end, and you have done a thing right. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the monsters once again piss off the entire world by blowing up half of Congo.
How are there
Godzilla
only
actually
7 minutes left?
Godzilla
God.
does, what is this called? I actually had to ask this on B-Sub because Cynic likes wrestling, and I'm not that gay, so Cynic can explain this for us.
They roar into the sky together.
Yeah.
And I did lead you astray. You asked me because I was supposed to have expertise. I said it was a German suplex. It is actually a superplex.
What the fuck is a superplex?
So that is when you give them what would be a standard suplex, but off of the top rope.
Or in this case, off of a pyramid.
So in this case, off of a fucking pyramid.
It was quite. Keep talking. I'm just about to find.
Like, that's fucking so. Like, how do you watch a movie where a giant lizard gives a giant monkey a suplex off of a pyramid and you're like, yeah, no, this is so dumb. If you think it's so good, like, you're just an idiot and this movie is taking advantage of you and calling you stupid. It's like, maybe you just don't take this shit so seriously. Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Rowan Ash, he keeps using that ship art because he thinks it's funny.
Keep talking, woman.
Keep going. Yeah, boy.
Okay, off the top rope.
Fucking off the top ropes. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh my God, he is broken in half.
Kong then pummels Godzilla's head with his Infinity Gauntlet, which you think is entirely counterproductive. And Godzilla finishes wiping out Cairo with his pink laser breath, which you likewise think is entirely counterproductive. I don't really know why Kong didn't just immediately hop back down into the portal and bait Godzilla into following him rather than waving his arms and trying to communicate. I guess if he'd done that, we'd not have got this pointless fight to pad the runtime out. But it's cool because Mothra then appears, and Mothra just goes, eh, and this solves that. They stop fighting. That's how the thing ends. This is how they talk. Godzilla calms the fuck down. He has a chat with Kong. They're all friends now. Everyone's on the same page. It's just that Godzilla now has much less radioactive power, quite possibly also a concussion, and they both weakened for their fight against the Scar King. At least that's what I was thinking. But you know, I had a mind to quality here, and that was a big mistake because the film doesn't have any mind for quality at all. There's no connection between this fight and the final fight. They're not weakened in any way. It just proceeds as though this fight never occurred. Meanwhile, setting up what I'm sure is going to be an absolutely catastrophic CGI finale, thousands of miles away, the Quantum Indians manipulate their magical pyramids to create several minutes worth of anti-gravity to protect the sky portals.
Oh, Scourge is that doesn't surprise me at all.
Stop this from happening. But yeah, brilliant. Totally called it. Never doubted it for a moment. Crikey flies back into the picture with a flock of flying electric pterodactyls, and they proceed to royally piss off Scar King and Godzuki and his army. This buys enough time for the humans to board the spaceship and escape. And then Godzilla and Kong portal in, and we get this unbelievably cringe trailer shot that I am honestly surprised made it into the final cut. I'm surprised it made it into the trailers because it looks appalling. It's so corny and cheesy and badly rendered, and nothing as big as these two is supposed to run, and Godzilla in particular is not supposed to run. And if you like this, you've probably got long COVID because my god, your taste buds have been completely fucking obliterated at some point. So yay, it's Godzilla and Kong versus Godzuki and Scar King, with the added bonus of Quantum Indian pyramids fucking with gravity. Which means for the first few minutes of the fight, we are basically doing the Matrix revolutions, but it's just worse in every way. And yeah, fuck, more whiskey. Give me all of the drink. All of this, it is needed. Mothra gets involved. Maybe Club Diddy Kong gets involved. Apparently all these monsters have done extensive anti-gravity training because they're all flying around like it's really no big deal at all. And then the magic pyramid buff times out and everyone very sensibly falls to the ground, where the fight should probably have taken place anyway. Mothra rescues our heroes before their ship crashes, while the rest of the Biggins fall through a portal, and Kong inconveniently gets his axe lodged in a wall, so he's lost that for now. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the entire population of Rio de Janeiro has been short-sighted enough to live within view of another famous landmark. Oh, Cristo Redemptor. Christ the Redeemer has, ironically enough, ensured that huge satanic monster things will bring death and destruction to people in his shadow. So yes, we're off to fuck up Brazil. I mean, fuck it, why not? We've done Italy and France and Egypt. Might as well add some samba into the mix, you know, spice things up a bit. Honestly, at this point, I think humans of this world will be well advised just to take down all their landmarks. Maybe the BLM people are right, even if they don't realize it. They might think they're tearing down statues because of, like, invented claims of racism and slavery, but what they're accidentally doing is saving all of America from being attacked by giant monsters. Because if you leave the land...
Invented claims of racism. Invented claims of racism. Coming from somebody who's been actively racist throughout this video. Yeah, DJ, let's wind that back.
Destruction to people in his shadow. So yes, we're off to fuck up Brazil. I mean, fuck it, why not? We've done Italy and France and Egypt. Might as well add some samba into the mix, you know, spice things up a bit. Honestly, at this point, I think humans of this world will be well advised just to take down all their landmarks. Maybe the BLM people are right, even if they don't realize it. They might think they're tearing down statues because of, like, invented claims of racism and slavery, but what they're accidentally doing is...
Invented claims of racism and slavery. Does he think slavery was... Invented claims of... Okay.
Saving all of America from being attacked by giant monsters. Because if you leave the landmarks up, you're just inviting the likes of Roland Emmerich and Michael Bay and whoever the fucking hack made this film to come and just kill all of them and everyone who lives near them. Godzuki does a sky laser. We needed one of those. Then yes, wanton destruction ensues. Rip Brazil. And the fight continues. Scar King. That's the one. Scar King loses a tooth. I think that's the last time the tooth is relevant. That's the payoff. We've done the tooth from the beginning of the film. And like that tooth flying there, that's all we're getting. It's done now. The tooth arc.
That's a fucking cool shot, dude. Like a giant monkey just punched another tooth out and it went flying through a building like a bullet. Like that's just cool. Like
Several thousand innocent people get taken out inside the opening 30 seconds of this fight. Oh, there goes another neighborhood. There go another few skyscrapers. Oh, and another one. Using skyscrapers as weapons now. Honestly, if this film had been made in the year 2000, they could be using the World Trade Center towers as a jousting match. Diddy Kong picks up Kong's axe and hops through the portal after them. Godzilla snaps Scar King's whip, as predicted, so he's lost his magic crystal, which is exactly why you don't put it on your weapon to begin with, you damn dirty ape. He and Kong fight over the crystal for a bit. Godzilla and Godzuki kill several thousands more people. Diddy Kong then uses Kong's axe to destroy the magic crystal, which frees Godzuki of its mind control. And the three hero monsters, Godzilla, Kong, and Godzuki, all three of them team up to kill the Scar King, much like Godzilla could and should have done thousands of years ago, but didn't solely in order that we could all enjoy this wonderful work of art that is this film. They all roar. Godzilla does another sky laser. The sun comes out over the wreckage of Rio de Janeiro. Population originally 6.7 million people, now closer to 4 people. Mothra and Echo return to the quantum realm. Echo says she doesn't want to stay in Hollow Earth after all because Eileen is her real family. I don't care. Mothra repairs the interdimensional Hymen shield. Godzilla goes back to have another nap in the Colosseum. Godzuki returns to Mordor with Kong and Baby Club to liberate the slaves. They all roar again, and that is the end of the movie. So that is the plot breakdown out of the way. Now, as is customary in these video essays, it's time for us to break down character.
Dog, calling it a fucking video essay is the most pretentious thing he's done so far. Like, calling it a video essay, like, that implies you did work. I do video essays. A plot summary is not a fucking video essay.
And theme. Fuck it all to death. I'm out, mic drop, roll the credits, let the credits go, it's done, never again, we're out, we're done. Fuck you if you like this film, stop running your brain, watch better films, watch better movies, don't ruin your...
The Last of Us. Even Dune is a better choice.
Children by taking them to see this film. Dune video. There's a Dune video coming up next. The Dune video is going to be really good. Just watch that one. You get to learn things. We're going to talk about writing. The Dune video, Molly. Watch the Dune video. Dune video, Molly. The Dune video is going to be great. Hours and hours and hours of Dune video.
Dog, you fucking... Woof. That was fucking rough. Oh, man. Do we want to see the critical drinker talk about the battle? All right, I gotta end it. I gotta end it.
There's been a bit of a ruckus in the Warhammer 40k community in recent days after the parent company Games Workshop decided to make some changes to the lore of their fictional universe, and well, they haven't exactly been well received.
What the hell?
But what changes did they make to cause such a backlash, you might ask? Well, this is where I'm going to have to delve into the lore a little bit, so indulge me. The simplistic view...
Pause, Jesus Christ.
...is that Warhammer 40k is set in a fictional future where mankind is locked into a state of constant warfare across the galaxy and has devolved into a kind of quasi-religious military dictatorship where human life is cheap and all that matters is the survival of the Imperium. To quote the
Why do you hate us? I'm curious!
company themselves, in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. Nice. It's a neat setting for tabletop wargaming, and there's an absolute metric ton of lore and history that's gradually been built up around it over the decades. In fact, you can actually ignore the gaming side of things altogether and just immerse yourself in the fictional worlds. There's more than enough books, short stories, graphic novels, video games, and magazine articles to keep you amused for decades. Anyway, one of the most iconic symbols of the 40k universe is...
they talk so fucking annoyingly. Decades. Not one backward step. Ugh. Research can be a great thing. No, I think he just talks annoyingly.
To be the Space Marines, genetically and surgically enhanced super soldiers wrapped up in power armor that are deployed to the most critical war zones across the galaxy. They're the very apex of human warfare, and the elite amongst them are the Custodes, the personal bodyguards of the Emperor of Mankind. In short, these are not guys with whom to fuck. Now, there's a lot of lore surrounding the Space Marines and the Custodes themselves, how they're created and how they function, but one of the most fundamental aspects of their creation is that they're all male, hence the reason they're all referred to as battle brothers. I know, right? Who would have thought that an oppressive, xenophobic, totalitarian military regime wouldn't have diversity and inclusion initiatives? The reasons for this are
Yeah, but you just spent the first, 4 minutes talking about how cool and awesome that is. Like, do you realize how that makes you... Like, you can't be like, oh, these are the bad guys, they shouldn't be diverse, and also be like, this is literally me. Like, do you realize how there's some dissonance there?
Combination of established lore, the target audience, and, well, basic common sense. From the lore side of things, the process for creating Space Marines is only compatible with male physiology, and there's no way to adapt it to work on female bodies. The super advanced technology used to do it is barely even understood by this point in history, and to be honest, there's never been a whole lot of incentive to pursue it because, well, what's the point? Only the strongest, toughest, and most resilient individuals can even hope to survive the process of being turned into a Space Marine, much less a Custodes. To put it into context, less than a fraction of 1% of the population would even be considered as candidates, which pretty much rules women out of the equation, so it always seemed like a...
When... I apologize to any Warhammer fans in the chat. When you lay it all out like this and you start giving like deep lore explanations for shit, it makes it so much more clear how fucking sad this kind of rant is. Because like he is arguing this shit like it is scientific fact. It's all fucking fake, dude. All of this shit is made the fuck up. It's fake. It's not real. Like, I understand people, I give a fuck about things. Like, I can't, you just don't listen to me talk about fucking Godzilla and Gamera and shit. Like, you know I give a fuck about these things. But it's also not real. Like, I've spent dozens of hours over the last couple of weeks playing Magic and collecting cards and sorting decks and all that shit. I invest into these things, into these hobbies, into these spaces, into these groups. But so many people don't seem to be able to have a dividing line where they realize, like, yeah, this isn't real. Like, they put so much of themselves into it that I think they are part of it. Or it is part of them. And that, like I've talked about it before, they see any infringement upon that as a direct threat to their self.
Question that basically answered itself. And if I had to guess, I'd say a lot of this probably comes down to Games Workshop having a solid understanding of their target audience and what they like. Because, how can I put this? Not all that many girls are into tabletop wargaming.
You don't say.
There's some, for sure. I'm not taking anything away from them. But generally, if I had to pick the people who are most likely to be into things like Warhammer, well, it's going to be guys like this. And for a good 30 years or so, everyone seemed pretty happy with that state of affairs. The problem is that Warhammer started to get popular, really popular, and so it was only a matter of time before it attracted the attention of modern audiences. Not tabletop gamers playing today, of course, or even just women who happen to enjoy the hobby, but instead activists who totally don't give a shit about anything to do with 40k, but just want to score another little victory in the endless war to dominate every single aspect of entertainment and culture. The push to make the world of 40k more diverse and inclusive has been going on for a while now, and one of the big objectives they've been gunning for is female space marines. Because truly, what woman doesn't want to see herself represented as a psychopathic 8-foot-tall genetically engineered killing machine? It doesn't matter to these people that 30 years of lore says it can't be done. It doesn't matter that most actual gamers don't want to see it happen. It doesn't matter that there's already entire armies of female-only soldiers specifically created to give women more of a presence in the game worlds. All that matters is winning, breaking down another barrier.
Like, this is so fucking, like, it's just sad to hear this grown-ass man. And then, like, it's even more sad knowing there's 500,000 people. And granted, I think there's probably some hate watchers there, but 500,000 people in the last 12 hours listen to this in agreeance. God damn, dude.
Homogenizing and blending everything together into an indistinguishable grey sludge of inclusion, gleefully taking another treasured thing away from their enemies so they can gloat about it and push for even greater victories next time. And a few days ago, they moved one step closer to their goal with the release of a new rulebook from Games Workshop, where it casually dropped in the fact that female Custodes are now apparently a thing.
Fuck.
That's pretty interesting, considering they've literally never been spoken about before, and everything we know about them suggests that can't happen, but okay, sure. Naturally, fans were confused by this, and when they were questioned about it on Twitter, Games Workshop's response was simple and blunt. Since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians. Liar! You know, I can't help thinking that you guys are trying to do a bit of rewriting of history here. I can't help thinking that you're finally starting
It's not real history! It's fake history! You can't say rewriting of history. It's not fucking real. It's not fucking real. It's like, yeah, the people who owns Warhammer came out with their own. All right, give me a second, y'all. All right. Do we want to... I got to go make some food. We're going to go say hi to Jack. I'm going to go make some food. Thanks to everybody. Please, please, please keep an eye out for the upcoming video. And I will see you all next time. I need to go get some food, feed my dog. Thank you all for the donations. They really, really, really help right now.